You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. As Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. And so you got white folks running around and you got black folks doing the same thing, repeating stuff, not realizing what they're even saying. Today in Tennessee, during a debate about education on the floor of the General Assembly, this is what Republican Representative Justin Lafferty claimed the 3-5 compromise was about when they were writing the Constitution. Y'all, my God, listen to this.
The 3-5 compromise, and I've not looked this up, I'm rolling off of memory here, so bear with me, came after we decided to declare our Declaration of Independence to Britain, who was at the time a world power that we can't comprehend today. They wrapped the entire globe. We were a speck on a cow's butt that stood up and told them, we're not going to take your garbage anymore. We don't tell that story these days. Was it perfect? Absolutely not. Slavery at the time was a part of world history. We drugged that with us. Our founders, who we don't quote anymore, we can go and see their writings anywhere, anytime we want to, because we've got these computers in our pockets these days, or we can make the trip to D.C. and look at their libraries. They wrote frequently and for long times about what this stain of slavery would do to our country. They knew that there would be a reckoning, and they warned us about it. Nobody I've heard, I'm not going to point fingers, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to start to do that. I have not heard anybody talk about the words of the men that founded this country, that put this together, that gave us this opportunity to be here today, to live in the greatest country in the world. We have so neglected what it was that set us apart from the rest of the world that I'm ashamed today. I'm ashamed at how we have let it go to pot like we have, that we are at each other like we are, that we have to have legislation to talk about what it is that we're teaching in our classrooms. I'm sure everybody's finished writing down their answer to the 3-5 compromise. I'm going to go back to that for just a second. The northern states, and again, something you don't hear about in the dialogue today, the northern states for a long time had abolitionist movements. Europe, England, our parent country, if you will, had abolitionist movements against slavery for a long time. When we got to the United States of America, the northern states knew that they could not defeat the British without the help of the South. They knew it. They had to have the materials, the resources of the South in order to challenge the greatest empire on the planet. So what did we do? We're faced with a dilemma. We're faced with a challenge. Does half of a nation, north of the Mason-Dixon line for reference, try to take on the greatest empire in the world while the supplies in the South are fed to their enemies? What sense does that make? You've all ran for office. You strategize when you do that. You think you'd strategize when you try to start a country, right? We ended up biting a bitter, bitter pill that haunts us today. And we did it to lay the foundation for all of this that we enjoy in this country. For as much as we scream and fight and argue, there is no place in this world that I'd rather live and call home. The 3-5 compromise was a direct effort to ensure that southern states never got the population necessary to continue the practice of slavery everywhere else in the country. What does that mean? Appropriation based on population. That's how we pick. Everybody in here knows we've got 9 state representatives. By limiting the number of population in the count, they specifically limited the number of representatives that would be available in the slave-holding states, and they did it for the purpose of ending slavery, well before Abraham Lincoln, well before a Civil War. Do we talk about that? I don't hear that anywhere in this conversation across the country. I don't know how we've gotten here. I don't know what we do about it, but talking about changing our history, changing's not the right word. Talking about incorporating another view of history, while ignoring the very writings that we have access to is no way to go about it.
Mustafa, anytime you say, I hope I'm right, right there, you might want to sit your ass down.
Yeah, I'm baffled. I don't know where I don't know where he gets his information from. I guess maybe out of a Cracker Jack box, and since they don't make that very often anymore, I guess that explains why he has so many antiquated thoughts that are disconnected to the truth and to reality. American history is what it is. We know the atrocities that have happened, and they need to be called out. We don't have to whitewash everything. But what we do have to do is make sure as we're moving forward that we're not bringing the sins of the past into the decision-making that has to happen if we want to be a 21st century country. And when you have individuals like this who, seem to be uneducated, whether it is through experiences or through the books that he has not read, evidently, it's a dangerous situation. And folks should realize these are elected officials who are spouting revisionist history, who are spouting information that is incorrect and is dangerous, because there is a part of our country that feeds off of this type of, uneducated information. And then they utilize it to be able to justify, these types of behaviors that we see even to today. So it's a shame that we still continue to elect individuals who just don't get it.
The thing that that just really cracks me up about all of this is, again, you have this idiot who stands up there and says this, Ben, and he really think he teaching. Oh my Lord, he thought he was just teaching up there, and how we don't quote the founders and how amazing they were. Player, we're more than happy to quote the founders. We're more than happy to quote what they live like in private versus what they said in public.
Come on, man. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking of, because a couple of things. I want to start with he's trying to talk about the writings of the founding fathers that were not directly included in the Declaration or in the founding documents. But he didn't talk about the fact that Thomas Jefferson, who was a slave owner himself, but he wrote about the evils of the slave trade. And through that, obviously, he's talking about the evils of slavery. Yet that portion was intentionally taken out by the Continental Congress, right? So it was a statement that the United States did not want to make the statement that slavery was evil. That is a historical fact as well. Now, this is not to venerate Thomas Jefferson, because he owned slaves. George Washington, all those founding fathers were white supremacists. And I don't care how you cut it. We celebrate them for founding this country, but we also need to understand who they were and what they have left, the legacy that they left. Lastly, this is still yet another example of them having a competition over history. Who gets to read it, who gets to define it, and what is inserted into the national discourse as a result. And they are fighting like hell, Roland. They do not want Black people to be able to speak about the history of this country from our lens.
And look, this is real simple, Kelly. Get used to it. Buckle up, because it's going to be a lot more of this over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years in this country.
I mean, they've been trying to bury the history. They have, in some cases, literally have buried history. They have burned history. They have made it illegal to speak history. They have killed people who were speaking history so that they would no longer speak history. None of those tactics are going to fly anymore. All of us, majority of us, know how to read. And I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm talking about the country. We know how to read. We know how to research. Google is your friend. It is everybody's friend. Libraries are open. You know, the stories are out there. The truth is out there. And come hell or high water, it's going to come out. And those who want to suppress it will be dead in a couple of years anyway. So the truth is going to outlive those who want to bury it. And hopefully in this age of information where everybody can get everything and anything, we can stay truly informed instead of going into our respective silos and just listening to what we want to listen to and reading what we want to read and believing what we want to believe. The truth is out there, but we have to also do our due diligence in seeking it and actually holding ourselves accountable to it. These white supremacists aren't going to do that, so it's really up to us to uphold the narrative, the real one.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
It's time to be smart. When we control our institutions, we win. This is the most important news show on television of any racial background. Y'all put $2, $3, $4, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30 on this and keep this going. What you've done, Roland, since this crisis came out in full bloom. Anybody watching this, tell your friends. Go back and look at the last 2 weeks, especially of Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, hell, go back and look at the last 2 days. You've had sitting United States senators today, Klobuchar and Harris. Whatever you have that you can bring to Roland Martin Unfiltered to support it, please do, because this information may literally save your life.
Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.